Let's talk about mountain bike maintenance, because if you ride a mountain bike, there are things you just have to tune on periodically. Like the cassette, the derailleur, make sure that things are shifting properly. You might even have to tighten your pedals periodically or watch them wear out like I'm doing on these Stamp 1s. There are other common maintenance items we do just about every ride, like we check the tire pressure, right? Make sure everything's perfect for our ride. You'll check to make sure that the fork is working, to make sure that the stem bolts are tight, so that your tire and your handlebars stay in alignment with one another. Very, very important. Some of the basic stuff. Checking our brakes. Make sure we can stop before we even get going. But what about the maintenance item that's looking us right in the face that very few riders check until there's a problem? I'm talking about the spokes. And I know this sounds simple, but think about it. When was the last time that you checked spoke tension or went around your wheel checking these? Usually people wait until there's that tink sound, and then they know that one of the spokes is loose. And if one's loose, others are probably following suit, and that can be bad for the wheels. It doesn't really matter if it's an e-mountain bike or a regular mountain bike. This is something that should be part of the regular check cycle, because what's more important than your wheels? Let me just show you what you should be doing. Should be going through and just kind of squeezing on spokes. Just putting a little pressure here and they should be good. But if I work my way down here, just going to squeeze on some of these. Let me see if you can spot, right? It's pretty easy, pretty instant to spot that this, let me get it up here where we can see it better. So let me squeeze, and I'm using the same tension. Might not look like it, but let me get my fingers here. See, all of these are good and stout. Let me just squeeze on this. I mean, I can just lightly squeeze on it. You can see it wiggle versus putting a lot of pressure on the ones next to it. Look how much that moves. That is a very loose spoke. Matter of fact, this one's so loose. I can kind of wiggle it around, and that's how I knew that I needed to check my spokes, because I started having that little tink sound where it'll just pop on some of the other spokes. But I did, as I was going through here, I found one more that was a little loose, but not bad to the point of needing to emergency check it. But the problem with a loose spoke, well, now that I'm feeling through, there it is. That's it. It's this one. Let me mark this with some tape so I don't forget it. I'm working my way around and I'm checking all of these spokes to make sure there's no excessive play. What you don't want is just that free play, like the easy to spot one there that just wobbles. I mean, look at that. You see how much that's wobbling around? This nipple needs to be tightened, and there is a tool to do that. A very cheap tool. You can spend a lot of money on spoke nipple wrenches. There are individual tools that you can buy, or you can be budget friendly, and that's what we are here. A budget shopping group. The beauty of this little tool is it's a multi-tool in the spoke wrench world. It has multiple sizes, and you just go through and find the one that fits the spoke that you're on. And in this case, I know this one's going to be a 12. And you're locked in, but there's something to factor in. It is so easy to get confused on the direction that this is tightening. So what I've done here, let me see if I can focus in on this. I have actually screwed this one out. You can see the little threads there. So let me just show you a telltale way to make sure you're going in the right direction, because it's just so easy to get confused, especially if the spoke is up or down. So I'm going to show you my trick, kind of the guaranteed way to make sure you're not going in the wrong direction. And that is, you already have a loose spoke. Why don't you just go ahead and bend in on it a little bit. And then if I went this way, I would see just by the pressure that it's actually loosening. So I'm going to go in this direction, and I'm making sure that this spoke wrench is actually tightening down. And as it gets tighter, I can actually feel this spoke pushing out, because again, I'm squeezing in on it. So I'm tightening here. In this orientation, it's counterclockwise for me, but as I'm squeezing on this, I can actually feel this spoke pulling out, and that's what I want. I want it to pull outwards on me here until I can get this, that it has enough tension that's not going to be flopping around, because that's what we're trying to avoid here. Is that loose spoke. I've got my tension on there, and that also helps keep this nipple pulled down, because believe it or not, it can recess up in there and cause other issues. But oh yeah, it's getting pretty close now. I'm just going to tighten until I feel the tension that I'm putting with my fingers here on this spoke Just get to the point that I don't even have to put tension on it. And right there, look at that. I'm squeezing now. Remember how loose this was before? Look at that. Look at these spokes. Look at that. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. But often, if you have a loose spoke on this side, probably going to have one on the other side too. That's been my experience. And look at that. This is almost, let me find my spoke. So it's right there. And if I go up, look at that. Exactly counter opposite to this happens every time I've ever had one loose. This one isn't as loose, but it's still loose versus all the other spokes. So I'm going to snug this one up just a bit too. Another tip, I use painter's tape. I go through and I inspect each and every spoke, seeing what's tight, what's loose, and when I find the loose one, I mark it with tape. That way, as I'm working my way through, I don't get lost, because you'd be surprised. There's a lot of spokes here, and it's so easy to get lost. But again, if I find one on one side, usually on the other, I'm going to find its culprit, its counterpart at least. So the same thing, I'm going to go counterclockwise here. And this one, yeah, it was just barely off. Just barely. Now she's, I'm going to go just a hair more with this. Let me do my stretch out thing. I'm going to feel it pushing, and yeah, about right there. Oh yeah, that's good. That's good, good, good. This one, I said sometimes it can be the surrounding ones as well. Now that I've tightened that one, I'm going to give this one just a little bit of a tweak. As well. Nah, that one's fine. So I don't have to work with that one. It was just this one and this one. And the only reason I had to tighten on this is because I had worked on this. So now I'm going to go back to my other side and I'm going to check it. Oh, still good. We are golden. Spoke checking. How often is that part of your mountain bike maintenance routine, or just bikes in general? Maintenance routine. I'm going to admit, I don't do it as often as I should. So inoften, in fact, that you saw how loose that one spoke was. Look how different that is now. Good spoke adjustment, easy, with a little cheap tool. These are about $6. I'll tag it in the video, put a link in the description. I always try to give you guys the tools that I work with. As a matter of fact, I've been thinking about going through my toolbox because I rearranged in here, which means I just started shoving stuff into corners. But I'm thinking about going through this toolbox and starting to add up the cost that I have invested in tools, because you use them and you just forget how much it all slowly adds up to be. But you know, cycling, not super cheap, but oh boy, is it super fun, and that makes it worth it. But another thing to add to your mountain bike adjusting, checking those spoke nipples along with everything else. And if you're on an mountain bike with a high torque motor, you're probably gonna have to check all this more frequently than you normally would. Remember, I bent my previous cassette, which, by the way, in a previous video, I showed you where I've warped this cassette. You can see where it bent up. And I said this was the factory cassette, but that 42, the way that text looked there, the numbers and the T, just started thinking, you know, I've seen this before somewhere. And then I figured out where that was. This is a micro shift. Matter of fact, it was right on the lock ring. This is a micro shift Advent cassette. This is hardened steel. I bent hardened steel with an mountain bike motor, and that makes me worried that this budget cassette's probably not going to hang in there super, super long because of the extra torque. And I've also started thinking about the fact that the one thing my wireless shifting does not grant me is a shift interrupter. So probably more prone to bend cassettes. It did take me over a year to bend this one, but it's a micro shift. A hardened steel micro shift. So just a note, mountain bikes, a little more stress, a lot more stress actually on all the parts. That requires more maintenance. You'll have to check chain more often, cassettes, derailleurs, spoke nipples, the hidden maintenance item that we just don't check. Or at least I don't, and I did a casual poll of some local riders over the past few days, and none of them check them either until they start making, everybody said the same thing. Until it makes the tink sound, I don't check my spokes, but now you know, our spoke checking here, man, I'm doing the dangerous thing, sticking my hand through on a rotating wheel. Don't do that. But these are all good now. Easy, easy. Comment below, let me know, do you check your spokes? How often do you have to tighten them? Because it happens. and I used to take stuff like that to the bike shop, but $6 means that I no longer have to. Let me know if this video helped you out. Have a great day.